Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video, we'll talk about the software testing activity in the automotive field. If you know, in the automotive field, we have many kind of companies like OEMs, is the constructor of the vehicle, and also we have tier one or some suppliers that give some products, or buy some product to the OEM, and the OEM integrate this product or this component in the vehicle. For example, some ECUs or some electronic components. Okay, so let's start first by a definition of the software testing in automotive activity. So the software testing takes all the activities of the validation of the embedded ECU software using simulation. For example, simulate the ECU or simulate some sensors. If we test the software in the bench, for example, also we can have real testing, hardware in the loop. It's also a kind of bench testing. And also we can use in some kind of test the test in vehicle. We use the real vehicle of the OEM and we test the software. The goals of all these activities, like heal, we can have another activities like model in the loop, mill, software in the loop, SEL, and also another kind. But keep in mind that the goals of all the activities of the software testing is to ensure the correct behavior of the software and also to ensure the good safety of the software, and of course at the end to make sure that the software is compliant with the automotive requirements given by the OEM, by the customer, if we are a supplier or T1. Okay, so this is a short definition of software testing in automotive field. And we have another topic we can introduce it in this video, is the model that we use to develop software from the beginning, from the requirements to the delivery at the end, before doing some testing. Okay, in most of cases we have in automotive many format, but the famous format is the V model. So what that means, V model or V cycle? Here we can find an example of a V model. As you see, at the beginning we have the requirement phase. In this phase, for example, if we are a supplier, we need to clarify all the requirements of our software and all the needs of our customer. So this is the first step, is to confirm the requirements of the software that we will develop after. The second phase is the architecture. In this phase, we define the software design, which describe how the ECU software will be implemented. And then we have model implementation, is the way to implement this architecture. For example, we can use some tools like MATLAB, Simulink to develop some models, or we can also code them directly in C language. Okay, and then we have the code generation. We can generate the code from our models developed here. Once we have the code generation, we can validate the code generated by C platform. We talk about software in the loop. We can use some tools like Simulink test or M test. We can find another tools, of course. The goal is to test the software generated or code generated. Then we have model in the loop or process in the loop. This kind of testing is used to validate or test units or model itself. Okay, and the goal is to ensure that the implementation of the model was correctly done. Okay, and then we have integration tests. This kind of test, the goal is to verify the architecture. Okay, and we can validate uh, the integration by using Hill hardware in the loop platform, and this kind of testing we can do it in the bench in the lab. For the MEL or PL, we can do them outside of the bench. We need just our platform in our desktop, and we can do it. We don't need to. Usually, we don't need to go to the lab to test. But for the Heal, we should be in the lab using the real controller or the real ECU, and we can simulate some input, some signals that come from the sensors, or using the real sensors. It depends. Okay. And then at the end, we have the last kind of test. We talk about acceptance tests or vehicle and system tests. We can call them vehicle tests, system tests, acceptance tests, many names. We can, in this kind of test, we use the real ECU, of course, but we test them with the real environment, condition of environment, with the real sensors, and also in the vehicle, we integrate our ECUs, our software in the vehicle and see what result. So it's the last step. We validate the software inside the vehicle before delivery. Okay. Of course, the kind of the vehicle is the vehicle of the project, so the OEM, and we do some testing or some validation with the in some trips, in cold trips or hot trips, with the real condition of environments. Okay, so this is an example of a V model that shows how the software can be developed in automotive and how it can be validated and tested. It's just an example. You can find another form of V model with more details, but keep in mind that we have in the left side the development phases, right side we have the validation or testing phase. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.